First things first, the information contained within this show is for the listener's benefit. I've had to do this because some people seem to think it's fun to trash certain things, but there you go. So what you choose to do with that information is your choice, not mine. And I don't request emails telling me how great I am or how great the show is. And by the same token, I don't need emails telling me I'm a piece of shit, I talk out from my ass, or Kim and the trust is bogus. That's fine if you believe that. Don't let me stop you with your choices. In the same token, I don't need to know your choices either. Use your energy on the various RV, Blue Chicken or crypto sites if that's what you really believe in. It will be far more beneficial to you than wasting your time attempting to trash me. It doesn't work. We know your games and we laugh at your emails. I just never understood the concept of writing to another alt media to tell them that they're BS. What a waste of energy that is. It's just beyond a joke. I don't understand what drives these people. Maybe at the end of the day they're just bots, which is far more common than people think. Or sad life, or sad no life actually, agency trolls and chills, or maybe they're just Stockholm Syndrome, just fighting to protect the system that enslaves them. Who knows? Right, let's get into the news. US Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi my words or forecast that when she was appointed that she will become a liability, and it was a good appointment for we the people, will become more prevalent as the days go on. Anyway, she cancelled plans to visit American troops in Afghanistan due to claims the White House leaked her security plan. Oh my. The news comes one day after Mr. Trump banned the Democratic delegation, and seems to be a whole extension of Pelosi's family as well, from using military aircraft for the trip. Now, Mrs. Pelosi's spokesman said on Friday that security officials had determined that Mr. Trump's announcement had significantly increased the danger. Ooh. And the row raged on the 28th day of, when I put this in, of the US partial government shutdown. Pelosi's spokesman said that after Mr. Trump revoked the use of the military aircraft, multiple White House officials then leaked her plan to fly Democratic members of Congress on a commercial airline to Afghanistan. Yeah, that went out of Reagan Airport. In the middle of the night, the State Department's Diplomatic Security Service provided an updated threat assessment detailing that the president announcing this sensitive travel had significantly increased the danger to the delegation and to the troops' security, there's that word again, and other officials supporting the trip. Yeah, all cabal. And in light of the grave threats caused by the president's action, the delegations decided to postpone the trip so as not further endanger our troops. We'll have more on who our troops are. And security personnel, oh my. Plus all the other travellers on the flights. On a military plane. Really. That was written by the BBC. British Buggering Corporation, as it's more better known, for obvious reasons. They wrote that BS as directed by the Blue Dragon-led MI5/6 and is pure spin machine rubbish. Security plan? Really? So it's okay for Pelosi to have security, but not the American people. Do the people understand that? That's essentially what she's telling you, that her security is vitally important and the American people can go and stuff themselves. That's what she's saying. Media people won't tell you that. We all know why. Visiting American troops, she says. Troops means they are a fighting machine. So why are so many protecting the poppy fields in Afghanistan? They're not troops, but actually drug pushers. That's the top and bottom line. So it's complete and utter lies anyway about visiting troops. The reality is she was getting orders, instructions from NATO, much like Mnuchin was going to do in Davos, Switzerland, to get more orders from the Rothschildians and the Chinese elders. These people are beyond stupid. Really. You think you can go afar and not be seen or heard. Message for you: we hear and see wherever you go. Oops. Remember I said in a show a few months back, who will be able to afford luxury items when the system is collapsing? It's like the Ouroboros clown program, where they essentially just keep chewing and keep chewing and keep chewing until there's nothing left. That's essentially what's going on globally now. And I forecast one day they will see their own stupidity. Well, this week, electric car maker Tesla has said it will cut its workforce by 7% after the most challenging year in its history. And in an email to staff on the firm's website, Elon Musk said that growth had been strong, but he added it was difficult to make Teslas with their new and developing technology as cheap as conventional cars. In other words, the cars are too expensive for the people. And they couldn't see this 2, 3, 4 or even a decade ago. And he stated the firm's car was still too expensive for most people. Go figure. So Tesla employs more than 45,000 people and is indicating it will cut about 3,000 of that staff. And shares went 6% lower on Friday. And they're in trouble. At least 30 Palestinians have been wounded by live Israeli fire at the Great March of Return protest in Gaza this week. And the Palestinian Ministry of Health reports, including 2 members of the media and also 3 paramedics were injured. Gaza Health Ministry spokesman Dr. Kudra reports Israeli forces were targeting 3 ambulances, 2 of them for the Red Crescent, interesting name, and 1 for medical relief. One ambulance was reportedly hit by a tear gas canister which broke its windscreen. The Palestinians, who have been holding protests every Friday since the end of March, demanding the implementation of refugees' rights of return to the lands they lost during the establishment of the State of Israel, and to bring an end to the 11-year now blockade on Gaza. The anti-vaccine trend, this is a pat on the back for the alt media, they're not liking it, has landed next to HIV and Ebola as a key global threat, according to the rogue World Health Organization. I'll have more on them later. And experts say vaccine hesitancy. So in other words, people who have been going out and warning of the dangers, which is now spilled over into the public, and a lot of people are just not taking them anymore, which is good. But according to their experts, the vaccine hesitancy risks reversing progress in fighting preventable diseases. Although various diseases can be prevented by vaccines, according to the World Health Organization, such as diphtheria and meningitis. In 2019, the organization included vaccine hesitancy among the other top 10 threats are HIV and AIDS, the global influenza pandemic, along with the spread of Ebola and dengue fever, as well as air pollution, lack of primary care and non-communicable diseases like diabetes. Now, according to them, vaccination remains one of the most cost-effective, doesn't say what cost, effective, getting rid of them. Might be cost-effective to the cabal, it's not to we the people. And refusing vaccines directly threatens to cancel out the progress being made. And the WHO listed, World Health Organization listed complacency and lack of confidence among the key reasons of why people are rejecting vaccines. Big pat on the back for the alt media. That's how it works. You know, people are saying you can't take on the system. Well, there you are. We already have. Now they're writing pity posts and the usual threats of we're all going to die, just to try and they've lost the media war on the vaccines. And there's the World Health Organization admitting it. Ten UN so-called peacekeepers from Chad have been killed in an attack by suspected Islamist militants in northern Mali, according to the UN. There's a whole new story to that. Another 25 Chadian troops were injured when the gunmen stormed the UN camp in Agulhok early on Sunday. The attack was repelled, the UN says, and the UN mission in Mali was set up in 2013 to fight Islamist militias operating in the country. Really. Militants have regularly attacked the UN and Malian troops since then. Al-Qaeda North African branch, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, said it carried out the latest attack. Oh my. Large swathes of northern Mali were seized by jihadists in 2012 until they were pushed back in a French-led military operation the following year. More than 15,000 personnel, including civilians, were later deployed as part of the UN mission, MINUSMA, as it's called, but parts of the country are still out of the government's control. President Trump's political team and top Republican officials have reached a landmark agreement to reshape the party's fundraising apparatus and also close the financial gap that devastated them in the midterms. There's a massive imbalance on how the Republican and the Democrats collect fundraising. But with this deal, the Republicans hope to create a rival to Act Blue, the Democratic online fundraising behemoth that ploughed more than $70 million into the Democratic coffers into the 2018 campaign. The Republicans have no comparable centralised platform to cultivate small dollar donations. Now, since the election, officials, including White House senior advisor Jared Kushner, State Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy have privately insisted that the party needed to come up with an answer, and following weeks of closed-doors discussions, Republicans have agreed to create a new platform called Patriot Pass, which will be used to cultivate and process online donations. Don't know about other people who take lots of donations. The elite financiers that are attending the Rothschilds-led Davos meeting in Switzerland are kind of worried about the 70% tax rate on earnings above $10 million a year, which is proposed by freshman Republican Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. No, representative, not Republican, sorry. She's a Democrat. It's scary, said Scott Minerd, Global Chief Investment Officer for the $265 billion Guggenheim Partners. And he said in an interview on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, by the time we get to the presidential election, this is going to gain more momentum, he said. And he added he would probably be personally impacted by it. And I think that the likelihood of a 70% tax rate or something like that becomes policy is actually very real. To a man, the billionaires and millionaires attending Davos had misgivings about Ocasio-Cortez's proposal, no surprise there, which she made during a 60 Minutes interview this month. And a poll found that 59% of voters were in favour of the idea. Only 59%? Really? And even 45% of Republicans liked it. And the lawmaker has turned heads in Washington and on Wall Street with her left-wing economic rhetoric, whatever that means, despite only being sworn into office earlier this month. Ms. Cortez represents part of Queens and the Bronx and identifies as a democratic socialist. I mean, who needs to earn $10 million a year? It boggles my mind why you would need to earn that amount. You know, it's pure theft. Like I said before, for every millionaire, there's tens of thousands living in poverty. You know, you could knock the 0 off the 10 and still live a lavish lifestyle. Beyond lavish. It's just a joke. You're going to see more of this. I did hint at it in a previous show recently, the downgrading of the status of the EU. And this week, the EU ambassador to America at the centre of a protocol kerfuffle with the Trump administration is now due to leave his post next month. The ambassador, David O'Sullivan, who was a former Secretary General of the European Commission, will be replaced by Stavros Lambrinidis, who is a former Greek foreign minister who currently serves as the EU Special Representative for Human Rights. They don't do much, do they? And of course now transatlantic relations are at a low point amid rancorous disputes with Donald Trump and his administration over trade and other issues. And EU officials are struggling to understand a recent downgrade of O'Sullivan's status in Washington. I'll tell you the reason why. It's pure and simple. Because a lot of yous are in bed with the Dragon Groups and MI5-6 who are supporting them, and the Rothschilds. Pure and simple. Nice, simple, easy explanation. Drop all them and come and join us. Fairly simple solution as well. There was a report this week out of Veterans Today, and the FBI abduction, they called it, of Marzeh Hashemi, whose real name is Melanie Franklin. And according to the Veterans Today article, they stated it's another milestone in the US turn to fascism. Really? Now, Miss or Mrs. Hashemi is a well-recognised and highly respected journalist. That's a misnomer in and of itself. Journalist. And a TV anchorwoman for Press TV, which is affiliated with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, she was abducted, according to them, on January the 15th. She was arrested as she was boarding a flight to Denver from St. Louis. And she was whisked to an unknown location in the vicinity of Washington, D.C. And the Washington, D.C. area was probably chosen as Northern Virginia is the site of what is referred to as the CIA court, in which so-called national security cases are heard, and because the government can be assured of government-friendly juries, according to this report anyway. In such cases, juries side with the government 99% of the time, except it's not the government. Veterans Today works for one, possibly two factions. So you will get exposures of the other factions, depending on which writer does a certain piece. But it's largely done to deflect from their faction of operation. And their complaints is that she was not being looked after in the right way, which is fair enough. She has no person access and protocols not being adhered to. Now, for the record, I personally do not approve of the incarceration of anyone without due process. It is far too open to abuse, and it was designed that way. But you have to ask, what is the difference about this woman? The rules and treatments stated in the report was also there under the last administration and the previous one and the one before that. So why weren't Veterans Today not complaining of human rights back then? Why no complaints against the people held in Guantanamo, most of which were on bogus charges? That's why they all got released. Perhaps this woman worked for Obama and the Muslim Brotherhood, CIA 3. And since that report, she's now been released. Last news item, where we go into some Q&A, is the latest BS to stick on Trump. The levels of childishness and desperation is beyond belief now. It's bordering on total insanity. So what has he been accused of now? Well, he's been accused of sharing doctored images in which his physical condition has been visibly enhanced. And this comes from the mainstream media. You know, those people are about as fake as an RV currency revaluation. Anyway, according to them, a number of pictures first identified by the website Gizmodo appears to show that the president's looking slimmer and neater than the original version. Really. And social media users were quick to point out the possible tweaks to his image, which was shared on Trump's official Instagram and Facebook accounts. The original version, which was posted on the White House Flickr page, appears to have a few key differences. And so Mr. Trump doctors his image to make himself look slimmer. Oh my. Such a crime. I think he should be impeached for doing something like that. But it's funny, these same people never queried how a so-called gravely ill Hillary can look 15 years younger and 30 pounds lighter within one day of her let's stumble into the van routine back in September 2016. Didn't question that, did they? Or the fact that Pelosi has a plethora of facelifts to hide the reptilian look she has. They don't question that. Portal people are getting pretty desperate now, folks. Real desperate, you have to say. I think they'd have far better things to report on. Obviously not.